Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving back into the Invincible comics. I was originally going to do a shrinking ray video, which I still want to do, but in my research I came across a section in the volume 2 Ultimate Collection of Invincible where it is the comic origins of Adam, Eve, Monster Girl, Splode, Dupli-Kate, and Immortal. So these are very fast and to the point. They're only like a couple pages long per origin. So we're going to take a look at them, compare them to the show, and see how much they've changed. So let's jump right into it. First up, we have Adam, Eve. So in her origin, it is only 3 pages long. Like I said, these are very fast and to the point. This would get expanded upon in the standalone episode we got between season 1 and 2 of the Invincible show. I think also in Invincible Presents Adam, Eve, we get more of the origin story as well. She was created as part of a government experiment, but her creator would secretly switch her at birth to protect her from becoming a living weapon. So this is how she got into the custody of her parents. Her parents were having a child at the same time, but their child did not make it. But the doctor gets a nurse to bring in Adam, Eve, and say, hey, this is your child, and the parents are so happy they do not question this. In the comic, we see her grow up and use her powers more for good. The standalone episode does expand upon this more with her struggles with her emotions, more about her backstory, and also kind of her need for a real family. So if you haven't watched that episode, I would highly recommend it. It really adds a lot to the character of Eve. Next, we have Monster Girl. So while on a school trip to Europe, she would fall in love with a local boy. This boy's grandmother would forbade the relationship for reasons not really explained. My guess it's because they needed to make a backstory for this character very fast and very cheap. So that's why they made her story very condensed. Ignoring the warning signs, she continues seeing this boy in secret until one day the grandmother would take a piece of her hair and curse her, transforming her into the monster that we see. Now every time she uses her powers, she grows younger, making her one of the most tragic characters in the Invincible universe. I'm not sure if we'll ever really see her origin animated in the show because they gave a lot of it kind of just in voice lines about how her powers work. That's all you really need for Monster Girl. I still think it would be cool if they animate this whole thing. That is Monster Girl's origins. All right, now let's talk about my boy Splode. So his backstory is pretty heartbreaking. He was born into a poor family. The government literally just like rolled up to his family's house and it's like, hey, we'll pay for him. And the family's like, we're not sure. And they're like, we'll make all your dreams come true basically if you give us the boy and just forget about him. So they sell him, and surprise surprise, the government would turn him into a living weapon. A common theme throughout this video, his muscle tissues would be modified to be denser, so that's why he could take so much damage. He literally takes a bullet in the head and he's still alive. But he was also given implant to change molecules and create explosions, so that's why he has that implant in his arm. That's where his powers come from. After carrying out missions for a couple years, he would find a way to escape and make it back to his family, only to really find that his family has become rich and they even have a new child. He has a sister. The realization of all this really left him kind of shattered. That's why he's a bit of a a-hole throughout the comics. So you kind of feel bad for Rex knowing his backstory. In the show, we have not seen it yet. Hopefully they give us like a standalone episode the way that they gave Eve one. We get one for Rex. But it's only mentioned in voice lines in the show that he was a government experiment and he really only sees himself as Rex. He doesn't see himself as his real name. He doesn't have another identity. He really is just Splode. All right, next up we have Immortal. So just like the show, his backstory is super vague. We just know a accident happens. I believe in the show a portal opens up and he goes through it. Since then, he's been living throughout the events of history, experiencing major world changing events. He becomes the President Abraham Lincoln, which is really funny. I like that. His memory would start to kind of fade, and I think because you live so long, everything starts blending in. Eventually he found his way into becoming a superhero, which it seems like he's been doing that for a while. In the comic book panel, he kind of has a old-timey suit. He doesn't have his modern one. His story does leave a lot of like unanswered questions that I hope the show expands upon, but I feel like we got enough Immortal now at this point that they're not going to explain it. That's Immortal's origins, very much like the show. All right, we have a 2-for-1 here. We have Dupli-Kate and her brother Paul. So their powers would actually come from a generational curse. One of their ancestors would rebel against the Chinese emperor at the time, and as punishment, his bloodline would suffer the curse. Let me see, I'm gonna read a section out of here. Burdened with a family too large for him to care for, and it would drive him mad. This would all fall on Dupli-Kate Dupli-Kate and Paul's dad. So when they were kids, that's when their powers manifested. This would drive their father insane. The government would take them in, and of course in the Invincible government, you can't resist turning these superpowered kids into living weapons. So in the show, we don't get the part of their ancestors rebelling against the Chinese emperor. They kind of streamline it. We get to the part where they drive their dad insane and they're taken in by the government. So that wraps up our breakdown of the Invincible characters' origins. Which one of the stories was your favorite? I think I liked Rex Splode the more I read through his, and I hope we get a standalone episode of Rex, dude. He deserves it, especially what happened to him in season 3. But let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss more content. Thank you for watching, and we will see y'all in the next one.